Surly Horns podcast. This is season 2, episode 23, and this will be the final episode of season 2 because fuck the Big 12. We out this bitch. RGB3, what was your instant reaction? Give me your instant reaction to the news.
So I didn't believe it. I don't think anybody really believed it to start. I kind of took it in. It made sense. So once I started laying out facts, because the first thing that stood out to me is, why is this Aggie reporter from the Chronicle breaking this news? There has to be something behind it. Otherwise, this guy wouldn't know shit. Like, there's no way. So my first reaction was, this is weird. It's weird enough to maybe be true. And I think I texted you and I was like, did you see this shit? And you said, yeah, no fucking way.
I said, this is stupid.
Yeah, you're like, this is
because I had gotten texts from a lot of people, and I was like, who's this worthless reporter who is trashed here?
Breaking the biggest college football story in decades.
Quite possibly ever.
Quite possibly ever. Breaking that there's a super league forming right from in this little Houston crowd. But you know what my favorite thing was? The dude tweets it, and then I see everybody just being like, I'm not fucking paying. The entire article's behind the Houston Chronicle's paywall, so nobody can even read the thing. It was just the headline sticking out. It was just the headline, and so nobody can even read it for like sourcing or anything. It's just there.
So for those of you who are fucking idiots and have had your head buried under the fucking ground for the last week, what we're talking about is Texas and Oklahoma are leaving the Big 12, and they are going to join the SEC
next year too. Don't listen to this 2025 bullshit. It's all bullshit.
All the legalese.
That's exactly what it is. It's their version of, I'm only here so I don't get fined. That's
what did Jay Hartzell say whenever they were interviewing him? One domino at a time.
Yeah, one domino at a time. It's like, yeah, sure, buddy. We know how this ends.
So let's go over a brief timeline. Last Wednesday, story breaks in the afternoon.
Yeah,
right before the SEC Media Day starts. So they ruined SEC Media Day.
A&M was there. A&M was there. Like, they were like, because that's why they got the quote from Bjork so quick, is because the dude was at SEC Media Days.
Yeah, and he was, and whatever. The butt hurt was immediate.
Immediate. And that's when I knew it was real. So whenever I saw how butthurt he got, I was like, okay, this shit has legs. Because you don't go immediate that butthurt without something behind it.
So that happens Wednesday. Thursday, things are a disaster, right? Everything, The world is on fire. The Big 12 is freaking the fuck out. The SEC is just like, nothing's happening. We have no idea what's going on.
Except one member of the SEC is not taking it okay.
Right. We'll talk about that. Then, was it Friday that the commissioners called that meeting and everybody showed up, or was that Saturday?
Yeah, I think it was Friday.
Yeah, it was Friday. Everybody except for UT and OU showed up.
Yeah, it was Friday for the Zoom call, and they literally didn't show up.
They just fucking didn't show up. Then everybody gets to wait the whole weekend, and Monday morning, first thing in the morning, joint letter sent to the Big 12 from University of Texas and the University of Oklahoma stating that they would not renew the extension of grant of rights after June whatever 2025.
They basically sent an email, said, we out this bitch.
And that's after they did have another call where they actually sat down with the shithead from Baylor, the AD from Baylor, the commissioner of the Big 12, and they basically said, hey, guys, like, don't fuck us around. If you're going to leave, just leave. And so they did.
We just did.
And then Tuesday morning, which is, they send another joint letter to the SEC and say, we think we should join your conference.
Yeah. That was this morning, by the way. The thread's been moving so fast. It is still Tuesday when we're recording this. So by the time you're listening on like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whenever we can catch our breath and release this shit. This morning we send the joint letterhead with OU. I do love how petty they were too. That Texas's version had Texas on the left and OU on the right, and OU's version had OU on the left and Texas on the right. Anyway, it feels weird getting along with this with the Sooners to like just basically butt fuck a conference into oblivion.
So that realignment thread, it was hefty, right? It's been going since day this night started. It was one of the first threads. I think it had 80 or 90 pages already. It is not even a week later. It has 234 pages.
It's
it went from a little over 100,000 views to like 610,000 views.
It's like you can't keep up with it. Every 15 minutes, it's a new page. So when I'm replying to shit, it's like 5 pages back.
Yeah. You gotta. So, pro tip for everybody: you've got to use the multi-quote function. Do not quote a post and then post, because then you'll have to go back to the page. Just use the multi-post.
It's a plus sign, guys. It's a plus sign.
Now that we've caught everybody up on the happenings, that's just matter-of-factly what happened, right? That's timeline to now. Now let's go back. We talked about your instant reaction, my instant reaction. Now let's talk about Aggie's reaction.
So I'm gonna add a little
and
bit.
Before anybody tries to fucking out me, right? I graduated from Texas A&M, but I am not Aggie.
There's a difference. But so I gotta expand on your timeline a little bit, because this goes a little further than last Wednesday. So last Wednesday, obviously the A&M honk reporter, that's when A&M found out. They went out to their friendly press member and said, hey, blow this up, because all they tried to do was blow this entire deal up while shitting all over themselves. So just so everybody knows the real backstory, this shit's been going on for like a year, at least like 9 months minimum.
Definitely pre-Herman, pre-Sark.
Yeah, for sure.
Pre all that.
This has been in the, like, these fucking Kevin Eltife and Jay Hartzell are fucking assassins. They're moving in silence like lasagna, man. It's crazy, because literally so not only did they have all, I guess, 12 other members, because Missouri and A&M were kept in the dark. They had all 12 other members lined up, their votes yes. They figured out a way to get out of their contract. They figured out how to, like, basically get out of the Big 12 and demolish the Big 12 in one fell fucking swoop with nobody knowing.
From what we know now, ESPN was even involved in that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They had to
so
be.
With the media rights, they've already figured out. They've already figured everything out. How to pay the buyout money, how to get somebody else to pay the buyout money. Every box has already been checked.
Literally. Like, it was a fucking checklist, and they've checked it off with nobody knowing until it was literally the last moment, and they're like, fuck, guys. Or sorry, FERC is, thank you, Thujon. FERC, we got to tell A&M. And they finally told A&M and Missouri. Missouri's super happy about it. Fuck yeah, money. Like, supposedly people are saying $28 million per school just by doing this. They
fired their AD.
Yeah, they fired their AD too. They fired their AD. So, which you got to know, at A&M, there are going to be multiple firings. I don't know if they're going to go after the AD, but like Board of Regents guy, something like, for them to be kept this in the dark is bad. Like, you can't hear a whisper from like you thought you had friends at Georgia or South Carolina. This means that you have no loyal friends in the SEC. They don't give a fuck about you. They only give a fuck about money, as they should. Fuck your school. Why don't we give a fuck about you?
Let's give Aggie benefit of the doubt.
I won't, but
let's give Aggie benefit of the no. Yeah, this is like suspension of whatever they call it, right? Suspension of disbelief. Let's give Aggie benefit of the doubt and say they're not going to be happy about it, and that's understandable. But what's the worst thing that somebody that's unhappy with that decision does?
They shit all over themselves is what I mean. That's what they did. They just shit all over themselves. I posted in the thread. I said, what A&M did was they decided that they had enough power and influence to blow up something that was a year in the making, that had every other member of the SEC's backing attached to it. What they succeeded in doing was embarrassing themselves and speeding up the timeline. That's all they fucking did. So now, I posted in the thread, I said, A&M they pulled down their pants, they got spanked live on across the entire fucking nation. So
And
all
they
they had to
pulled
do
their
was
pants up,
yeah,
shit in them.
yeah. So all they had to do is pull their pants up and go on about their day. Like, oh, we'll beat Texas on the field. That's all they should have said. Oh yeah, we look forward to welcoming our rival back, and we're going to beat them on the field. Cool. Like I would respect that. But instead, they pulled their pants off. They took a shit in them, and then wore them as a hat. Is exactly what they did. It was the most embarrassing display of publicly too, at not just like a fan level, because
This wasn't the fans' reaction. This is like official reactions from the university are to set a board of regents meeting to talk about taking legal action against the SEC,
suing
to
the
immediately
SEC.
start talking publicly about the gentleman's agreement, to have Bowen Lofton, who is now not affiliated at all with Texas A&M, who is now at Missouri, to go on record talking about how this is bullshit and this isn't going to happen.
Gentleman's agreement. Hey, you know what a gentleman's agreement's worth? Nothing.
I mean, who fucking cares? That, like, what are you thinking? And then for them to say, well, we always have the nuclear option. And they threatened to leave the SEC. This is real. This isn't fake.
Yeah,
this isn't
is
fake
real
news. This
shit.
Isn't some fucking, just because we're a Longhorn podcast.
Yeah,
doesn't mean we're just making shit up. They literally threatened to fucking leave the SEC over this.
Like that was going to change a goddamn thing. That's the best thing, is they thought they held enough influence. Like, oh no, big old A&M's going to leave your conference. How do you like that? Oh, we're going to fuck you guys good. Like, we're going to leave your conference. There's the fucking door. You don't think Oklahoma State or Texas Tech would just immediately run through that fucking door? Like, enjoy the Pac-12. I'm sure you'll be a really good culture fit.
They told them, they fucking quoted them, we have a walk out the door for free clause in the SEC.
SEC wants to give the SEC would love to give them a walk out the door free clause, and not because it's A&M. It's just because good luck, go. You'll be better off. Try it. It's go ahead, leave me. See how it turns out for you. Like we don't need to hold you here. If you want to go, you can go. You know, if it was Alabama doing this, sure, maybe they get something done. You know, maybe so, but A&M, I'm sorry, buddy. We don't give a fuck. Leave. Be gone.
I just don't understand. It would be different if it was just Texas.
Right.
If it was just Texas, I feel like threatening to leave, and the optics of that are actually really bad for the SEC.
Yeah, them or us, and you chose somebody that hasn't been there for a decade.
Oh so, no, and you guys 13-1'd us on somebody that you knew that we didn't want in the conference, that we left for strategic reasons. There's plenty of documented reasons why, and blah blah blah. That would have been real fucked up.
Yeah,
that's not what happened. It's a package deal with two of the top 5, right, including the number 1 valued program. Right, so 2 top 5 value programs in the country come knocking. It doesn't matter what the fucking. No. It doesn't matter if it's UT. That would be like if Michigan and Ohio State came to the SEC.
Yeah,
you don't say, oh no, A&M doesn't want you here, or Missouri or whoever.
The fuck are you gonna do?
Like, not even Alabama could have stopped that.
No, and why would they want to? And so I get A&M was literally the only person that wanted to. Like I said earlier, Missouri was kept in the dark too. But they're excited. They should be excited. Hey, $28 million a year or whatever the hell it's going to be. Like, we're in this super conference. Go us. Because imagine if Missouri stayed in the Big 12. Like, they might not be getting in on this shit. You know, like, are we really taking Missouri over in Oklahoma State even? You know, so Missouri has to be like, fuck, thank God we're in this bitch. Like, thank the Lord. Where, you know, A&M, yeah, they're going to have issues with it because it ruins their only advantage that they had over Texas was playing in the SEC.
Well, they have a national championship winning coach. Advantage Aggie.
Don't care got Jimbo. But, you know, so they have Jimbo and they have the SEC, and that's all they've been fucking selling. Then they've been selling the exact same thing that they've been selling since 1939 when Hitler fucking invaded Poland. It's hopes and dreams of national championships and winning. And it's the same shit they've been selling. Where now guess what? You literally took their biggest recruiting advantage away from them. The SEC means more to them than Jimbo Fisher, 1,000,000,000%. Hell, the only reason Jimbo Fisher is there is because they're in the SEC.
I don't know that the bottom falls out on recruiting. It
No,
definitely
no,
has
for
a
sure.
negative impact, like and a drastic negative impact to recruit against Texas and Oklahoma in Texas.
Huge.
In the same conference. Now you've got to recruit on real merits. You have to really you have to really attract talent to your school in some way, shape, or form, right?
And what was the last time you were in College
into,
Station? I mean,
in 2012. So
yeah, that was too soon. Because that's the biggest thing is so they had this great okay, they had a great season last season, whatever. They beat up on a bunch of nobodies. Don't buy into the fucking bullshit. They beat Florida. That's the only good one they had. But they can sell that, and that's fine. But now, instead of selling Texas, who has the number 7 recruiting class in the nation right now, and we're disappointed in that, instead of saying, hey, well, you don't want to go to Texas, you don't want to play in the Big 12, the Big 12 doesn't put anybody into the league. Well, now it's oh, fuck. So now we can only sell our merit. We can't sell the conference, which is what they've been fucking chanting. SEC, 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 which we'll get to that later. But it's gone now. That entire selling
they
point
have to recruit on merit, right? They have to recruit on merit. And I'm not saying that there's everybody now recruits on merit.
Exactly.
And OU's been recruiting on merit against Texas, and they do a really good job, right? When OU is winning, they get a heavier nod to some of the in-state recruits. They get
especially
basically their entire first string roster is Texas high school kids.
Yeah, and so now you're looking at Oklahoma taking away more Dallas kids, with them going to OU, and now you're looking at Texas being on an even playing field, and then Texas can sell Austin versus new coach bump plus Austin over College Station. I mean, it takes away so many built-in recruiting advantages because now, A&M's one of their biggest sells wasn't even just SEC. It's, hey, stay home and play in the SEC. You go to LSU, you go to Alabama, but stay close. You're an hour and a half away from Houston. You're 2.5 hours away from Dallas, whatever. You could stay home and play in the SEC. Well, now it's sure, I could do that, and I'm closer to OU and I'm closer to Texas, or just as close. It takes away the biggest recruiting advantage that they had, and it's I'd be just as pissed. I would be absolutely furious. But you know what? Fuck them. that's it.
All right. So what happens next? What dominoes are left to fall before this is officially official?
So right now, the presidents, I don't think the ADs, but just the presidents vote to include Texas and OU, which is going to be unanimous. A&M is not, Thursday. Yep. So A&M's not going to abstain. They're not going to say a no vote, because that would be even a bigger recruiting advantage for Texas, because they could say, man, yeah, they voted no against us. They're scared of us. Boom. So they're going to vote in the positive. 14 no is going to be the vote count.
And that was always going to be their vote.
Yep. Oh, yeah. They got put in a corner.
Yeah.
They got put in a fucking corner. And so now we're going to get voted in for 2025. And then every lawyer that ever attended the University of Texas, any lawyer that currently is employed by ESPN, any lawyer that is currently employed by the SEC, are going to butt fuck the Big 12 conference into oblivion. Basically, it's going to be hey, look, your conference is failing. Watch for your members to start jumping ship, because that's going to be the next thing. So the biggest thing for Texas, and as any Texas fan listening to this podcast, you need to be thinking about, I want the dominoes to fall out of the Big 12. So you want Kansas to go to the Big 10, you want West Virginia to go to the ACC, you want Texas Tech to go to the Pac-12, whatever it is, you want them to start falling, because if West Virginia goes, then the next one goes, then the next one goes, then the next one goes. And if that happens, we don't pay shit. All we need is 4 teams to fall out of the league, and the Big 12 is done, kaput. This is its last season. What we don't want to have happen is the Big 12 to go out and get UCF and Cincinnati and Houston or SMU, whoever the hell whatever garbage schools are going to put back into the Big 12 to try to keep its heart beating. however slight that beating heart might be. We don't want them to do that, because that's when all those lawyers I talked about earlier, that's when we start fighting. Because I think it's like they're talking about $80 million or something like that to pay, which, by the way,
that's 100. It's about 160 between both schools.
both
It's
schools.
like
So yeah,
78 each or something.
yeah.
Like that.
So first of all, if you're listening to this podcast, I cannot stress this enough, guys. Texas and OU will both be playing football in the SEC in 2022. Flat out, it's done. Like, if you're listening to this right now,
there's no way,
and
we'll get into why, right? Whenever I talk about my dominoes falling, because you're in rampant speculation land right now.
No speculation. This is exactly what's happening. I'm laying it out. This fucking galaxy brain of mine right now, it's laying it all out. And that's exactly what's going to happen. The lawyers are just going to sue. We're going to end up negotiating the buyout down to something more manageable. And then all of our losses or fees or whatever we have to pay to the Big 12 are going to be taken out of the Longhorn Network, which is going to be bought by ESPN and transformed into the SEC West Network. Bang, mic drop, done.
All right. So we've got the Thursday meeting where the presidents, not the ADs, the presidents of the universities, or the presidents and CEOs, whichever the university has, vote to accept. I think it is a 14-0 vote, right? Texas gets accepted for 2025 into the SEC. Friday, there is public Board of Regents meetings for both schools.
Yep, that's
with
true.
No executive privilege or whatever executive session in either of the meetings scheduled. They're just gonna lay it out all in the open. I think what they talk about in there is business as usual. They completely don't even really talk about the conference stuff, and they just unanimously approve on each of those boards to accept the invitation. And so that makes it official that Texas and OU are going to go to the SEC. Now, after that, what I think happens is that everybody is painting Texas to be the bad guy, and Longhorn Network has now destroyed the conference twice over, and blah blah blah. And we've all heard the excuses.
OU catching no heat, by the way. I love that. It's all Texas's big bad Texas.
Yeah.
Texas is Darth fucking Vader. Yeah, and Oklahoma just sitting there like Jar Jar fucking Binks. Like, like they're just.
This was their fucking idea. Their fucking idea, and that's fine, right? I guess Texas gets all the credit for the galaxy brain. But it was actually OU, right? Credit where credit's due. OU got fed up with the Big 12 and said, fuck this, we're out. Texas, what do you want to do? And Texas was like, fuck it. Yeah, we've been looking for an excuse to leave.
Yeah, we're coming with you.
And so what I actually think happens is that Texas is going to use OPM, and OPM being ESPN, and they're going to pay the buyout. And they're going to pay for the buyout for OU too.
With interest,
they're going to do that from divesting the Longhorn Network, right? And saying, whatever, pay us our contract out. And then that gives a capital infusion to the teams and schools in the Big 12. And so after that point, fucking UT is not the bad guy anymore, right? OU is not the bad guy anymore. You guys got a fucking lump sum check for basically half of a year's worth of fucking revenue for doing absolutely fuck all, right? Yep. So 8 teams get to split 160 million, 20 million a piece. Y'all get $20 million to shut the fuck up and figure your own shit out. Right? And maybe they can convince somebody to let them in. Maybe not. Who gives a fuck, right? Who fucking cares? It's not Texas's responsibility to especially take care of the private schools.
Yeah,
fuck Baylor.
Yeah. Fuck
right?
you,
a bunch
Baylor.
of rapists. What's the student population of Baylor? Like 13,000 tops?
I hope like
fuck
0 women, because I worry for their safety every day.
Yeah. And who cares? Honestly, what happens to the rest of the Big 12? Because when you look at the 8 teams that are left that are not Texas and Oklahoma, and you look at the games where they played each other, the average viewers for those games are so substandard. It's like below 750,000 viewers.
It's so that's what people don't understand about this move. Like, people are what killed me was Texas Tech, and they're like, "Oh, you don't know what this is gonna do to destroy Lubbock businesses." It's like, bro. Oh, so what you're saying is Texas and OU have literally held up a conference, by
I think
themselves?
that's more Tech fans, right? The universities,
Well, and their
Tech's
lawmakers.
response is actually really good.
Well, and their
It's
lawmakers,
actually the
though.
best out of the rest. Tech actually responded the correct way and said, "Yeah, this fucking sucks, but we think that we've got a lot to offer. We just got the Carnegie Mellon or whatever the fuck research university thing, and we're gonna we won this many championships. Like we're gonna do what's right for the school academically first, and we're gonna make sure that our student athletes have a place to play." And I think that's a wonderful response. They didn't blame anybody. They didn't say everything's fucked up. They didn't say any of that stuff. They
Yeah,
just
but then
said,
you look at
"Yeah,
their
it
government,
sucks."
the
It
Tech
sucks.
alumni or whatever, but
Oh, did you see what Oklahoma State's fucking
Oh,
butthurt
yeah.
ass president fucking put out? That's embarrassing. That's
Bitch more.
embarrassing. You should
Cry
fucking
more.
resign.
Cry more. But that's exactly why we're leaving. Is why should Texas and OU be subjugated to this shitty fucking conference just because it's gonna hurt y'all? Like, cry more. Just like, who cares? Fuck you. We're Texas, bitch. Like, fuck you.
Completely irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. If Alabama left the SEC and Auburn started crying, like, what the fuck is that Alabama's problem?
Yeah, exactly. And the rest of the SEC probably wouldn't be crying. Of course it would hurt, but it wouldn't destroy the fucking conference. Like even losing the biggest program in the nation is
You're onto something here. I do feel like, right? Let's say Alabama and Florida leave and go to the ACC for some unknown reason, right? They just say, "Fuck it, we're out. We're going to the ACC." I don't think the SEC implodes. Number one, no. I don't think so at all. They would go and they would try and attract some other teams.
Yeah.
And they're a viable league, even if they don't attract other teams. I think they're a viable league
for sure.
And I still think that they compete at a really high level, right? I still think that the Georgias of the world, right? Tennessee, when they get their shit together finally again, right? Yeah. They have a big alumni base. They've got lots of money. They have enough money to cheat like hell.
McDonald's,
right? As much as shit as we talk about Aggie is, right? They were ranked 5th. They almost made the playoffs this year. I think that LSU. LSU fucking has won plenty of national championships, right?
Yeah.
In recent history. So I think that's a viable conference, period, right? Without pick 2.
Yeah. 2, one blue blood, one damn near blue blood. Like
pick the 2 best. Pick the top 2 teams in the SEC. They survive without them. And their TV contract is not trash afterwards. Now, you do that for any other conference, right? So do that for the ACC. The ACC's contract is already so fucked that the ACC is like, this is a godsend for the ACC because they need to do something to get out of their horrific contract that's through 2036.
Oh,
just a garbage ass contract until 2036. And the reason that's a garbage ass contract is because the only fucking draw is Clemson and maybe North Carolina sometimes.
And Florida State's been down since Jimbo left.
Nobody cares about Miami. Nobody cares about Miami.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, if they could get back to like winning big games, but other than that, I mean, Virginia Tech sometimes, not really. Like, there's really nothing there. So
there's nothing, right? So the ACC is trash, right? So you take the top 2 teams. Let's say Florida State and Clemson leave the ACC, the league collapses. It's just as trash as the Big 12.
Yeah,
just as trash.
You're looking at Miami is your best team. Miami and North Carolina are your best teams.
Yeah. So then you look at the Big 10. Okay, the 2 biggest names in the Big 10 are clearly Michigan and Ohio State. Yep. Michigan and Ohio State leave the Big 10. They don't make nearly as much money as they make. Still a viable Power 5 conference.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Michigan State's, Wisconsin's.
Michigan State, Wisconsin,
Indiana,
Minnesota, right? Iowa, right? All good. Like and all of these schools.
Nebraska.
Number 1, they have big attendance. Number 2, they have a lot of rich alumni. Number 3, they all have really deep rooted traditions. They all recruit mainly out of their own state, and they supplement from some of the other big states, but they're corn-fed. They recruit out of the Midwest and they stay in the Midwest. So I think the TV contract value, not so great if Michigan and Ohio State leave the Big Ten, but totally a viable league. You're not having people that are going to just run for the hills and escape, and you're not going to see Wisconsin, right, and Michigan State just say, fuck, we don't know what we're going to do. And then you get to the Pac-12, right? The Pac-12 is absolute dog shit.
Yeah. USC and Oregon are gone.
No. Fuck that, right? I mean, Oregon only gets to be Oregon because of Nike. Like, Oregon's fucking irrelevant. They're Miami. They're Miami without getting busted for the boosters. That's all they fucking are.
Yeah.
That's all they fucking are. So, really what the Pac-12 is just California. It's just the California school. And California is where they recruit all of the talent for Oregon, right? And Texas some a little bit. So California is the mainstay there. So if you have Cal, Berkeley, right? If you have UCLA, USC, and Stanford bail on the Pac-12, or any two of those bail on the Pac-12,
done.
League's dead. Not viable.
Yeah.
They have trash TV. You know, the great thing is lots of really good football players come from California. Bad thing is everybody in California could give two fucks about football.
Yep.
Like pro or college.
That, and it's so late, so even the East Coast doesn't give a fuck about, you know, when USC's starting at 10 o'clock on the East Coast, you're not watching the shit. You know, some dude in Florida, you know, post Reggie Bush, you know, that's the game you're falling asleep to. You know, that's the game my degenerate ass is betting enough so I can cover to you know, stay above my line. But yeah,
but I think so Pac-12 is the only Pac-12 and ACC, right? Two non-viable leagues. Big 12 not viable. So what I think shakes out is those three leagues either dissolve or start merging and turning into something else.
That's the easiest thing for them to do. If I'm the Big Ten, I'm reaching out to the Pac-12 and I'm reaching out to some members of the Big 12, and I'm trying to combine those three and then let the SEC and the ACC absorb each other, and you just have like a west, north, and a southeast is basically what you're looking at. Because then, you know, the SEC's taking your North Carolinas, your Miamis, your Florida States, your Clemsons, and Ohio State and Michigan are taking your USCs, your Cali schools, Oregon, Washington State. Now you're looking at, you know, and then have a playoff through that and let those two, it's an AFC and an NFC at that point.
And I think it'd be really fun. Everybody talks about how this is going to ruin college football and everything. And then we have to get into the reason of why did this happen, right? And I think there's been a lot of really good takes on some college football podcasts that I listened to recently. But one thing that is just missing from any analysis that I've heard is this has everything to do with the NIL. This has everything to do. This is 100%. The only reason this is happening is because of NIL.
It is not a coincidence.
I don't think Texas has any interest in joining the SEC. Joining a cheaters league and not cheating is not in Texas's best interest. Even if you get to be in the recruiting battles, that doesn't mean anything because they're cheating, right? And they're cheating so blatantly that the league has been protecting them, right? SEC has been protecting the cheaters. Yeah. Now, you can't protect you can't do what Tennessee did and get.
Yeah, but they self-reported too. So even if the SEC was protecting them, like, it was obvious what was going on. Like, open your eyes. Like, and so Georgia, we're onto your shit. We know, but the SEC's protecting them because they don't want to get their shit blown up. And I mean, Tennessee.
All right, let's talk about Cam Newton for a second, right? Because this is just like people openly talk about it now.
Yeah,
Cam Newton straight up got paid to win a national championship at Auburn, right? Yeah. They bought that national championship, period, right?
Worth every penny.
And there's it was worth every fucking penny for them.
Every penny.
Yes, every fucking penny. But that's who you're dealing with the SEC. They're cheaters. They're blatant about it. They're open about it. Everybody's talked about it, and everybody's okay with it.
Yep.
They're not okay with getting caught or doing stupid things, but they're okay with cheating, period, as a blanket rule in the SEC. And Texas didn't want to have any part of that. The NIL changes that. There's going to be no more of this recruiting cheating. And even the recruiting cheating that happens, it don't make a fuck, right? It really doesn't. Because there's one free transfer, period.
Yep. That too.
And so
Yep.
there's going to be a lot of people that get burned on the buying a player to get the
Yep.
the
Here's
letter of
200K.
intent signed.
Yep.
And then
And then
getting
they're gone.
burned one season later or half a season later, and they just say, fuck it, I'm out. And Texas has got all the money. They're going to hook me up with a car dealership. The car dealership's going to give me a fucking car and $100,000 a year salary, right?
Yeah.
So fuck you guys, I'm out. And that's going to happen because it's legal.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
it's the thing that you do now.
It sounds
and now
dirty.
that cheating is legal, Texas, when it's not cheating, you better fucking believe that Texas is going to be throwing money around like crazy.
It's
and
already
now
happening.
It makes sense why the NIL has been so fucking slow played by Chris Del Conte, and why everybody's telling everybody to fuck off, and why they're blocking deals.
Yep.
It all makes sense now because they don't want that to really pick up until the SEC move happens and they can really start to squeeze people.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing. So nobody understood that this was the great equalizer. I've been saying it forever. This is the great equalizer because why would you take a bag of cash in a McDonald's bag? Here's $50K in cash from a McDonald's bag, or hey, here's $50,000. Just tweet this once. One of those is legal. Why wouldn't that person choose the one that's legal? And this is the great equalizer. This is exactly what Texas has needed forever. And by the way, if you're worried about the NIL, you're worried about that, it's getting figured out. Calm your titties. It's gonna get figured out. This is set up to be the perfect situation for Texas. So not just with the one free transfer, when you can show recurring.
And OU, right?
Yeah,
I mean, OU is going to benefit tremendously from this because OU couldn't cheat because Texas was like, you can't fucking cheat.
Right. Yeah, and the Big 12 wasn't going to protect you either. So
no, not at all.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is this is just going to equal everything out. Like there are so many deals. The most important thing now, and the stuff that I've been talking about with anybody else when it comes to NIL, and how we can get involved. It's showing not just your Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson is going to walk out of Texas with a college degree and straight into the NFL, and he's going to leave college already with $1 million in the bank, multiple $1 million in the bank, because everybody's going to want that guy. What I'm worried about is Alfred Collins. Alfred Collins, as talented as Bijan Robinson in some aspects, like future first round pick we're talking about, but he's a defensive lineman. He's not the flashy, he's not the sexy name. So it's, being able to show the tight ends, being able to show the linebackers. We talked about in the last NIL podcast that we had. It's how do we pay those guys legally above board, get them involved, and be able to show sure, Arch Manning's
what you show is it pays to play for Texas.
Exactly.
It pays dividends for your career in the future. It pays dividends for your career now.
Yep.
And I think that's what people don't realize is there is a lot of money in the SEC. And let's not, Aggie is whatever they are, but they are also pretty fucking rich. They're dumb and rich. Lots of oil money there. Lots of money in Alabama, lots of money in Auburn, lots of money in Georgia, lots of money in Florida. So let's not kid ourselves and say that there isn't a lot of alumni base that can support this pay to win mentality. And we've been seeing it for a long time in the SEC, right? The SEC has always been a pay to win league. It's really obvious that it's a pay-to-win league, and now paying to win is just legal.
Yep.
So it makes sense to go to the best conference that is going to give you your school the most revenue, period, and give you the best chance to kind of showcase talent, absorb the best talent, showcase all the best sports. I mean, this is mainly a football decision, right? Football's the big revenue driver, but the other sports do matter, right? And there's going to be a lot of really good stuff that happens from these other sports. And from a recruiting perspective, it really does become, do you want to play in the Big Ten or do you want to play in the SEC? Yep. That's it, right? Those are the only two relevant conferences now. And really, if you live in the South or the Southeast or anything like that, why would you want to go to the Midwest? Why do you want to deal with shitty winters? Why do you want to go and hang out in really, a lot of those places are not in big cities, in big hubs.
Quinn Ewers. Talking directly to you, Quinn Ewers. So, I mean, and honestly, if you think about it, Ohio State, out of everybody, they're the one that gets fucked. They more than almost any other Big 12 member, they get fucked in recruiting with Texas and OU, because now they don't
They can't
have
win.
to,
You can't recruit out of Texas anymore.
You can't
Big Ten cannot recruit out of Texas.
Yeah.
There's no way.
There's no reason.
Unless somebody has roots, like their
Yeah.
grandpa went to Michigan or like some weird shit like that. They have no shot anymore.
No.
It makes no sense for a kid from Texas to go to the Midwest and play, get paid less, probably, and be far away from home, not playing in kind of the Premier League, right? I'm not going to say that the SEC is the best conference in college football yet.
It is. It absolutely is.
I mean, the Big Ten is very competitive, right?
If you take the 8th best team in the SEC, that's better than the 4th best team in the Big Ten. And I made those numbers off the top of my head.
I don't think so. I think they're competitive. I think they're both really competitive. I think everybody else is trash, right? ACC, you've got one team. You got one fucking team. The Pac-12 has 2 teams maybe every 3 years. They have one team every year, maybe. And then Notre Dame, right? We haven't even talked about Notre Dame. But Notre Dame, fuck Notre Dame, right?
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, Notre Dame they're about to slow play themselves into their relevance.
At this point, they need to just shut up and join the Big Ten. It's their best chance. It's their best chance of survival.
If they join the Big Ten, then how do you fucking argue that SEC isn't as good as Big Ten? I mean, that's fucking the money. The money will be about equal. The influence around the country will be about equal. Different geographic regions, right? So maybe it's just you stick to your recruiting beds. And it turns into, those 2 are the main leagues and everything else is kind of the scraps. And you start focusing the playoff it as more of, maybe you take 8-4 or 6-6 from the Big Ten and the SEC, and you just say that's the playoff.
Well, that's where, like I said, you got the Northwest League and the Southeast League, and it makes all the geographical sense in the world. It makes all the monetary sense in the world. Like, just y'all do your thing up in the Pacific Northwest and California, and y'all have, you're basically just splitting the country just diagonally, just a big old diagonal. And that's how it's going to end up. And I think the rest of the teams, like, there's one of the most fun things I had this past offseason was spring football. I thought spring football was great with the FCS. Turn these little shitty games,
turn the best of the rest into the fucking spring league.
How awesome would that be? Like, to watch, I don't even know a name. Like, I was going to say U of H, but they'd probably make it into.
Oh, dude, let's just say Arizona. Arizona State playing in fucking March. That'd be super cool.
Yeah, fuck yeah, that'd be awesome.
I'd watch that game.
Absolutely. Or I would go a step below that. I'd watch UNLV versus Utah State. Like, even that kind of level of shit. San Jose State is playing Hawaii at 9:00 at night on a random Saturday in the spring. Fuck yes, I'm watching it, and I'm putting $50 down. Like, absolutely, I'm watching that.
I mean, it's going to have more viewers than whatever trash ESPN has on.
Exactly.
Right? Or whatever trash Fox Sports or Bally's, whatever it is now. Yeah. Like, they have no ratings at all during the spring. And so this is a solution, right? It gets that actually could get these teams the money that they need to survive or whatever you
and not only that, the players would be more apt to play for those teams because they can still have their one free transfer.
Exactly.
These teams are watching them in the spring and saying, hey, dude that just fucking crushed it at UNLV, New Mexico State, come play for us. Hey, here's the money we have to offer. Like, so the players are going to be hyped. It's like a glorified audition at that point. Like, oh man, I can go to Baylor and then transfer to Texas. It's I don't want to call it a minor league in a negative sense, but they're the minor schools playing where, these teams can pick and choose and trade, and the players benefit, the schools benefit. There's more eyes on it. There's more money into it. It makes all the sense in the world, and we get football year round. Who on earth doesn't want that? There's only baseball.
Well, yeah, we skip the summer, right? Yeah. Football in the deep summer is bad for everybody. It's bad for the athletes. It's bad
100 degrees. No.
Yeah, it's terrible.
But in April, there's nothing. There's whatever, hockey and basketball is going on, but football year round, done. You missed 2 months of football from like June, July, August, like the beginning of August. That sounds beautiful. 10 weeks of no football all year. 40
it gives time for your liver to recover. Mm-hmm. You could build up a wallet to start gambling again with.
Exactly.
So I guess we talked a little bit about how we don't fucking care what happens to the rest of the people left from the Big 12. I want to touch on the point that it's not only that we don't care, it's that anything that happens is completely irrelevant.
Yeah, and we don't like
the Big Ten isn't like let's just be honest. The Big Ten isn't taking anybody, save for maybe Oklahoma State if they pull some crazy academic shit out of it.
I could see Kansas with basketball.
Nope, basketball doesn't matter. They're not going to share the TV contract money from football with Kansas. It's not and they're not going to do the unequal revenue sharing. They don't believe in that in the Big Ten. There's no way politically to pull off a basketball school that's trash, just fired their AD, just fired their coach. We're paying players to fucking shut the fuck up and quit the team.
That was bad.
Like that, just roll it up. Roll it up, Kansas. You're fucking done. Kill football, save the money, join the AAC or fucking someone for basketball, and just enjoy your basketball money. Yeah. Right? That's AAC, what you get.
AAC would be a great basketball conference too. They already got Houston in there. Like they'd be a great basketball conference.
So Big Ten, they're not interested in anybody. Like let's just be honest, right? No. There is nobody that fits in academically, period. And they play school up there.
Have to be AAU, sure.
Yeah. Nebraska, right? They snuck in
barely,
like the hair on their chinny chin chin, but they're in, so they're in. But Big Ten's not taking anybody. Pac-12,
they need to.
They're collapsed. They're a fucking trash league.
See,
you don't bolster a trash league. It's like if you added Cincinnati and UCF to the Big 12, what does that do? Nothing. It's still a trash conference. It's a trash conference.
Awful.
And so you add Texas Tech and TCU to the Pac-12, what do you have? A trash conference. You still have a garbage conference.
But you do have 11 a.m. kickoffs, which they're lacking right now. So they don't have any eyes on at 11 o'clock.
Who fucking, again, irrelevant.
Money, baby. Money. It's money. It's still money, though.
It's irrelevant what happens. That it's not there. Those teams will not bring enough to even have the split. You have to remember, you're splitting this 14, 16 ways. And so you have to bring enough money to where you at least prop up what your share is. Or if you don't, you're bringing something else to the table that's pretty substantial. And that those markets, number one, nowhere near big enough to bring a lot of eyes to, like, the TV sets aren't there.
TCU's not getting
TV sets aren't fucking there. They're not there in Lubbock. They're not there in Fort Worth. They're not there, period. Like in any of the teams that are, like, all the rest of the teams combined don't have enough cable boxes to go join at a 10th of the revenue share in the Pac-12. So whatever. Who cares if they join the Pac-12? It's just going to cannibalize their league even worse. Nobody's going to the ACC.
No, West Virginia.
Or maybe West Virginia.
And it's the most logical fit ever. Rivalry with Pitt.
Like, why do they want West Virginia? Right? What? Who cares? And so what I think actually happens is the Big 12 stays the Big 12. They maybe add Cincy and UCF, and they're completely irrelevant. They're the ACC, Pac-12, and Big 12. And they're the same as they are today, and the same reason Texas and Oklahoma left is because they're fucking irrelevant conferences. Maybe one team makes a fucking Cinderella run and they go undefeated the entire season, and maybe they sniff the playoffs.
I can see it. Yeah, I think that I think the point that I was making earlier was it's shit or get off the pot time for a lot of these conferences. And I understand the revenue split, but I think that once you start seeing those dominoes fall of like, okay, West Virginia went to the ACC, Oklahoma State's going to the Pac-12, something like that. Now you're saying, okay, well, let's snatch up what we can while we can, because otherwise we're going to have to, cannibalize somebody else later, and it's what other league is dissolving. So it's almost like it's picking up scraps. And even though that they're scraps, it's, hey, if we don't pick them up, somebody else might. And we don't want to get left behind being the only 12 team league in leagues of 24, because now say, Big Ten, let's say the ACC says, fuck it. You know what? Let's take Oklahoma State. Let's take TCU. Let's take Baylor, and let's take, Kansas for the basketball, whatever, Texas Tech, whatever. Hey, let's take these. We're gonna start to try to compete. And now it's like, well, shit. As the Pac-12, it's like we can't bring in anybody. Even though they're bottom fucking tier, even though they're trash fucking teams, it's, well, do we want to fill up on more trash, or are we going to get left behind and be a team, a conference of just 12 teams when everybody
They're
else
irrelevant.
is
I'm saying
24.
it's completely irrelevant. They're completely irrelevant. Any moves that anybody makes, except for the Big Ten, absorbing Pac-12 schools that are worth it, or the SEC absorbing more ACC schools that are worth it, is completely irrelevant to the
Yeah.
college football landscape. We
Oh,
have
yeah,
we have
totally.
a we have two conferences that matter. Nothing else matters anymore.
Oh, for sure. But I'm saying in terms of the Big 12 itself, I'm wondering how they're trying to stay alive. And if you do find a soft space to land, if the Pac-12 doesn't fucking want them or the Big 10 doesn't want them, but the ACC is like, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's add 2. And now you're looking at Texas, OU, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech all gone. And now you're looking at an even more fucking irrelevant league that has nothing to do with anything in the college landscape. And now Kansas is like, you know what? AAC, you're looking pretty damn good. I'd rather be in the
Or
AAC
you know what?
than
Maybe
Big
what
12.
happens, and some people are going to hate this. Maybe they stop playing football because they've never been able to afford it. Like maybe playing in front of 15,000 people and empty fucking stadiums should have had ramifications a lot sooner. And that's not saying like it's not shitting on the alumni base, but I know personally Kansas fans, and were they excited whenever they were good and like relevant in the Big 12 with
Mangino.
Mangino?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, they were going to go to the games and stuff and watch because they're Kansas alumni. And that's exciting. Do they give a single fuck if Kansas doesn't win a single game in football? Absolutely not. They do not care at all. They are not upset. They actually think it's kind of funny if they don't win a game. And that's a trash program. Roll it up, right? Stop subsidizing things that, number one, your fans don't actually care about. Don't sell me the fucking bullshit where you can't even fill up a 50,000 person stadium that your fans care. Your fans don't care. They're not showing up to games. They're hardly watching on TV. I bet if you really looked at the ratings, most of that is degenerate gamblers or people like me and RGB3 who just will watch fucking anything. That's football on TV.
Yeah, anything. Anything. Yeah, I mean at the end of the day, that's part of it. And I think everybody that's pounding their chest and saying this is bad for college football. This is bad for college football. It's like, well, yeah, but fuck Kansas. Like, fuck Kansas's football. Like, they don't want to be competitive.
No, this is great for college football. This is going to make college football better.
This is
the product on the field is going to increase exponentially because of this move.
Just get
because of realignment. Remember last time everybody was like, realignment. Oh, fucking college football's ruined. Look how fucking good college football is now compared to the fucking early 2000s or late 90s.
And I'll tell you what,
so much better.
And I'll tell you what, I have never in my life been more excited to just, I keep seeing people post like hypothetical schedules for Texas in 2022. And I compare it to our current schedule. I posted in the thread, I said, look, if you don't understand why this is happening, go look at our current home slate. Our best games against TCU and our next best is like Kansas State. It's trash. It's completely trash. And now you could take any team in the SEC, including Vanderbilt, and you take all of our home opponents and you just add SEC teams instead. Our schedule's immediately better. That's more fan excitement. That's more fan engagement, not just with our fans, but with rival fans. Everybody loves to hate Texas, and this has proven it more than anything I've ever seen. Everybody loves to hate Texas. It goes back to even it's fucking OU's idea, but we're getting the blame, and I don't give a shit. Because I want us to be the bad guy. I like being the bad guy. Being the bad guy is a good thing as long as we're winning. And you know what? This year, Arkansas is by far going to be the craziest game that we go to, that anybody goes to. It's going to be absolutely insane.
Yeah, I don't know. The Red River.
Excluding OU,
right?
Yeah, excluding
the
OU.
Two teams that are leaving.
Yeah, exactly. Excluding OU, Arkansas is our best game. It's the best game on the conference. When we're in the SEC, that's going to be the worst game on our fucking schedule. Like,
all right, let's go through this. Like, we did this. We did this whenever it came out, but let's go through it again real quick. So we've got Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns. So
cool.
Season opener.
Cool. Like
Rice.
Awesome.
Tech.
Hell yeah.
Oklahoma State.
Sweet.
Kansas and Kansas State. Like
It's brutal.
Okay, so let's talk about their fans. You think the Raging Cajuns are, so let's talk about the LSU game. Because I know a lot of people that listen to this podcast went to the LSU game.
Yeah.
That's what a fan base looks like, right?
Yeah.
When you play a home and home, that wasn't because it was two special teams and whatever. That's just because that's how LSU goes to fucking football games.
Yep.
Right? That's how LSU goes to football games. That's how it will be every time LSU plays at DKR.
Yep.
Regardless if they're trash ranked or if they're top ranked. That's how LSU travels. Now, let's talk about another Louisiana school, the Ragin' Cajuns. Chance to knock off new coach, whatever. All the big storylines are all fucking there. I bet 1/15 or less fans show up from Louisiana.
For sure.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
It's absolutely nobody's coming from Manhattan, Kansas. But do you think that Ole Miss fans are going to travel? Bet your ass.
Do you think people are coming from Lubbock to watch Tech get fucked?
Yeah, God no.
No.
Just look at Mississippi State when we played them in baseball. That was some of the, like, even just on Twitter, even our interactions on Twitter, people get up in arms and shit. Like, they care. They give a shit. Kansas doesn't care. Kansas doesn't care about anything besides basketball. You think they're going to show up? Like, no, they don't care. Even Vandy, to an extent, cares a little bit. For certainly in baseball, it makes no financial, it makes no fan, it just has zero. It makes zero sense to ever want to stay in the Big 12. And I guess my brain has been pre-programmed after realignment. It's like, yeah, we're Big 12, where you start hearing like, oh yeah, SEC, and then you're like, oh shit, this is fucking real. And it's like you're adapting your mind to the fact that, hey, you could have cool teams, because I mean that was CDC's idea, and I guess the administration's idea before. It's like, hey, we'll have one marquee out of conference game, so we're scheduling Ohio States and Michigans and Alabamas 10 years in advance, where it's like, well, now like we're just gonna roll out of bed one day and we're gonna play Alabama. Like, hey, our schedule
we'll just
is
play Florida. We'll
here's
just play
Georgia.
Yeah. Play Tennessee.
Georgia.
As shit as Tennessee has been at football, they travel. Now Vanderbilt, I don't know how long they are for the world of the SEC if they don't pull some shit out of their ass. Because they're trash. Like, they're Kansas bad. Maybe not Kansas bad. I bet they beat Kansas. Yeah, I bet they beat Kansas. But they're the dumpster fire of the SEC, and even they're like, they win games.
Yeah, they would beat the shit out of Kansas. They beat the shit out of Kansas State, I bet. Like, it's Kansas State's a mid-tier program in the Big 12, and the dumpster of the SEC would beat the shit out of them.
So I bet Rice has more fans come from Houston just to watch the Mob
for sure
at halftime than the rest of these Big 12 schools bring.
Absolutely. And I
think that's fair, and I don't even think that's an extreme statement.
Yeah.
That's what's pathetic about this schedule. It's not that it's not exciting and whatever and blah blah blah. I know I've heard that argument. Oh, Oklahoma State, they're trash or whatever, or whoever in the Big 12. Well, I mean, Texas hasn't exactly been just lighting it up and going to the conference championship every year. So save me that excuse. But a real excuse is there is no excitement at those games, because it's only so fun to go watch Texas almost lose to Kansas with no Kansas fans there talking shit to you or cheering for Kansas, or like it's only so fun if it's just a sea of burnt orange. And that's one of the reasons why the Red River Rivalry game is so fucking awesome. It's because it's a 50-50 split, maybe 55-45 some years when one team has a lot of momentum and the other doesn't. But God damn, that game is electric. Every time you go to that game, it's electric. And there just aren't any electric games.
Yeah. It's our bowl game. Like, we wait for these games like LSU that we scheduled 10 years ago. We're waiting for the Sugar Bowl.
Raucous. Right? I mean, it was insane.
Yeah. And now we're just going to wake up on Saturdays, and that's the norm. We wake up on a Saturday and it's, oh, fuck, Auburn. Yeah. It's, we're looking forward to an Arkansas game, like, oh, thank God we get a break. We get Arkansas this week, instead now it's like, oh man, I hope we beat Arkansas. Like, that's besides the Red River, that's our game. Like, that's our one, let's go to it. And like, we're getting an RV to go to the Arkansas game because it's the best game on our schedule.
It's literally the best game on the schedule.
Guess what we're going to get to do in 2022? Oh, hey, you want to go to Baton Rouge in the RV? That sounds a lot better than Vietnam. It sounds way better.
Yeah. You want to go to Gainesville, right?
Yeah.
You want to go to Athens? You want to go to the Grove?
The Grove?
I mean, Yeah, I mean, fuck yeah, I want to go to the Grove.
Let's go.
Yeah, fuck yeah, I want to go to Tuscaloosa.
You're just gonna have to
right?
buy this RV. Like, I think it's just you just gotta purchase it at this point.
Yeah, we got to put a ramp on it so I can ride it off.
Yes, absolutely.
Reminder for everybody that's still listening. We're gonna do a live taping of the podcast at the Arkansas game. Before, right?
Yeah.
We'll have a tailgate and everything. We need 100 people to show up.
Yep.
You don't need to give us any money. You just need to show up
and make us drink booze. Just bring shots. That's all.
All right, so let's talk about how, like, we're getting excited, right? We're talking about playing in Gainesville. We're talking about playing in Vietnam. How often does this happen? How does it shake out? How do you see the structure of the SEC moving forward with Texas and OU joining?
Man, I keep everything we've seen on the boards is, there's really kind of two factions. Is it divisions or is it pods? And I think when push comes to shove, when the decision makers at B sit down and they say, what's the best way to ensure the biggest variety, the biggest, the most rivalry matchups, I think they have to do the pods. I think it makes too much sense. I think you pay everybody in your own pod. So you're paying 3 teams. And I'm guessing ours is going to be, for some reason, I have a feeling A&M's not going to be in it. But you, for sure, Arkansas, for sure, OU, and probably Missouri. So it's either Missouri or A&M. So you have that pod. And then every year you rotate pods. So this pod plays the Alabama, our pod plays the Alabama, Auburn, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, or something like that. 1 year, and then we rotate, and then we play the, I don't know, LSU, whatever. So, we rotate pods. So you play everybody in your pod, that's 3 games, plus everybody in another pod, that's an additional 3 games. And then you play
4 games.
4 games. So yeah, so now you're looking at 7 games, and then you play 1 game from each of the other pods. So you're still playing Kentucky and Florida. So
man, you're fucking bad at math. That's shit fucking terrible.
That's 9 games.
Awful
9 conference games.
Conference setup.
That's 9 conference games. And that's how I do it. I think it's 3 against your own, 4 against another pod. You play the entire pod, and then 1 game against each of the other pods. So that'd be 9 total games. And I am fucking.
I want the hate pod. So. I want the hate pod. I want it. I need it in my fucking life. The hate pod would be insane. Beautiful. Imagine how good the TV ratings for the hate pod.
Tell everybody what the hate pod is. Yeah.
So Texas A&M, Arkansas, Oklahoma.
Beautiful.
Insane. All of those teams hate each other. All of them hate each other.
It'd be absolutely insane.
All of them hate each other. All of them especially hate Texas. Texas, especially hates Oklahoma, especially hates Arkansas, and just loves to clown on A&M.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, they've tried to make a rivalry out of A&M versus everybody, but they just have a losing record against everybody.
Yeah.
So, and Arkansas, right? They hate the fuck out of Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Just
and we don't care about you, at least until we get there in the RV, and then we'll care about you.
So that pod I want to call them 4-team divisions. So that's one 4-team division. Then you have another 4-team division where you keep Vanderbilt and Tennessee, right? You've got every pod should be kind of a hate pod. So Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Alabama, Auburn, right? That's a fucking hate pod. All of those teams hate each other.
They do hate each other.
All of those teams hate each other.
Yep.
The Mississippis, Mizzou, and who else?
LSU.
What would you throw into that?
Yeah, so it'd be LSU, Mizzou, and the Mississippis.
So they get fucked. LSU gets fucked on that one. I think maybe right that one's kind of the odd.
Unless you see, but then so the problem with that is so you could do the Mississippis, Mizzou, and then throw Kentucky in there, but then it's just a shitty fucking pod. I mean, Ole Miss or Mississippi, the Mississippi's. I mean, it would easily be the worst pod competitively, but the other pod would be fucking sick because then it'd be like LSU, Georgia, Florida, and
Alabama. Holy shit!
Alabama.
And wait,
LSU, Florida, Georgia. God damn it! How are we forgetting an entire team at this point?
Hold on.
Wouldn't be Tennessee's in the Vandy pod.
South Carolina, Gamecocks.
There we go. Yeah, that's a hate pod right there. So you got 3 hate pods and a cakewalk.
Yeah, and fuck the cakewalk pod. Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I feel like that levels the playing field for the easy pod, right? Because their recruiting base, honestly, the Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Mizzou pod, it makes their path to the championship game much easier and fair.
Ours would be a fucking nightmare.
I mean, so would fucking. I mean, what you think? Alabama's would be a cake? Like Alabama?
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Fucked. Right?
No,
I mean, just as hard as Texas.
No, not really. Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt, they would whoop the fuck out of Vanderbilt.
Alabama, Auburn. No. Because you do Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Mizzou, and just say fucking cakewalk conference or division.
Oh, okay.
And then you put well, fuck. How does this all work?
So you'd have to.
It actually should just be Mississippi and Alabama. Mississippi and Alabama should be.
Yeah, like the 2 states. Yeah, so Alabama, Auburn,
LSU, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida. Actually, that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah. The Tennessee Mizzou one would be so terrible.
Who cares?
All
of this gets too complicated, and what I think they do, at least for the first season or two, is they take the fucking easy way out. They just say 2 8-team divisions.
Yep.
And they balance the SEC East, which they've desperately needed to do for a long time.
Alabama goes over there too, please.
Alabama, Auburn. Yeah, Alabama, Auburn are going to the East, and Texas and OU come to the West, and it balances the conference.
Yeah,
and so that's cool. The only not cool thing is at that point you're only going to play unless you add 2 conference games and go to 10.
Yeah, you can't do that.
It's going to take 14 years to play everybody.
Yeah, yep. And that's why I think the pods makes the most sense.
I mean, imagine a home and home every 4 years, right? In one recruit's cycle, you will get to play at every SEC stadium, and they will play in your stadium.
And that helps recruiting as well, because you can.
Oh, it helps recruiting, absolutely. Yeah. And you've got to think that one of the reasons they're even going to let Texas and OU in is so that they can get more recruits from Texas into these other schools.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, and that's part of it. But then I think there is also a little bit of a closing of the borders because, Georgia was recruiting, hey, this is an SEC kid, and everybody knows what an SEC kid looks like. Hey, this is an SEC kid, and our only competition is fucking A&M. Like, we're not worried about it. But now they have 2 to go against where, okay, yeah, we have Texas and A&M that we have to beat out for a Texas kid. Maybe let's recruit this guy that we like a little bit less, but he's in Georgia. So I think there might be a little bit more of a closing of the borders, but I think at the end, it'll help Texas and Texas A&M, where it's like, hey, look, we used to only play Kentucky once every, 4 years. Now we're playing Kentucky at least in your collegiate lifetime. So you can go up to Kentucky and say, hey, you're going to play a game in your home state. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because number 1, we're going to play OU every year. And number 2, which is my favorite, we're going to play Texas A&M every single fucking year. And it's about damn time. And I do hope they bring it back for Thanksgiving. I think they need to. There's too much tradition. There's too much hate. There's nothing better than a fucking belly full of turkey and just watching Texas curb stomp A&M, especially at Kyle Field. Those are my favorite.
I mean, I dearly miss that game. I don't know that it needs to go back to Thanksgiving though. I think there's.
I would like end of the year as well. Last game of the season every time would also be
last game of the season. Last game of the season makes a lot more sense.
Yeah,
I think Thanksgiving should always just be the biggest draw. I wouldn't be disappointed, mainly because the weather is much better if Texas OU actually gets moved to Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
but then it's not during the State Fair of Texas. I get it.
Yeah.
Right. There's other logistical problems there, but the weather is so much better.
I wonder if they make it at night. I wonder if this is,
Oh yeah, they're definitely going to make it at night. Yeah. Absolutely. They're not going to get fucked into playing 11 a.m. Red River. Like, that's stupid. They're definitely going to play 6 p.m., 8 p.m. starts.
Oh. Ooh, there's going to be some drunk folks. That is going to be a level of sobriety that we are not going to be used to. That is going to be great.
Well, yeah, that hasn't happened since the new TV contract, right?
Yeah.
They put it at 11 a.m. for
ever.
Really the last 10 years or so, right?
Yeah, forever. It's brutal. But yeah, that at night, I would love. I don't know who you play. Obviously A&M already has LSU as their Thanksgiving game because they decided to make up a rivalry there of some sort, which LSU doesn't even think it's a rivalry. But so yeah, I don't know who you schedule at that point. Maybe that's the Arkansas game. I'd be down for that.
Arkansas would be cool. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity there for flexibility, and even now, right? The same way that Texas does it, where they play on Thanksgiving, but it's a rotating cast of who gets to get that. As long as it's somebody relevant on
Yep.
Thanksgiving, anybody's going to be more relevant than Texas Tech and TCU and Baylor, like whoever the fuck else, right? Is
Yeah, you'd
going to
think.
be in Texas. They tried to keep that one in Texas after A&M left, and it was always just a trash game.
Stupid. Yep. The only thing I remember about it is Tech when Chris Warren ran for like 400 yards. Other than that, it's just it's been irrelevant because the entire conference is irrelevant. There's no marquee game you can schedule. That's the thing. It's like
Texas
okay,
OU.
cool. Yeah, it's Texas OU, and it's all
the
time.
gem of the Big 12, Texas OU game. Guess what? Peace.
That's it. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's just irrelevant because just looking at the schedule. Just if I'm telling you, if you're listening to this podcast, just go pull up A&M schedule and then pull up ours and look at the home
and then pull up Thu Jones MS Paint.
Yeah, and then which Thu Jones, we need to figure out how to NFT that because that could go to the first Surly Horn sponsored player because that needs to be an NFT. Absolutely has to be an NFT.
We got to figure something out. We're gonna have to do some kind of merch based on that. It's too good.
So good.
It's too good.
Oh, it's so good. Oh.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about basketball because as exciting as all this SEC stuff is, basketball, that train is just going and it is not stopping for fucking anyone.
Dude, Chris Beard had took probably they would finish, I would say, last or second to last in the Big 12, and he legitimately just straight out of the transfer portal, he formed a top 3 college basketball roster. They just got Marcus Carr, who was rated by everybody from Minnesota, rated as everybody the top transfer in this window. They got 3 out of the top 10 transfers in this window, which is absolutely stupid. Not only that, they got Arterio Morris, who is a 5-star in this next recruiting class. They're going to get Keontae George, who's another 5-star in this recruiting class. That dude is going to open the Moody Center. It's going to be unbelievable. New stadium, new coach. It's hopefully, a deep tournament run. I mean, SEC, get fucking ready, bro. In terms of basketball, because there's nobody in that conference besides Kentucky, that's any good at basketball. We're coming. Tennessee, bring it, Rick. Oh, we're gonna play Rick Barnes, aren't we? Holy shit! This is me live recognizing that we're going to be in the same conference as Rick Barnes. Holy shit!
He's gonna retire soon for sure.
Yeah.
So I think that this is it's just unreal how good of a hire Chris Beard is. He better do something with all this talent,
dude.
Because holy shit, he's gonna look completely inept as a coach. Great recruiter, but inept as a coach if he can't win with the level of talent that he has. I mean, this is guaranteed Elite 8 type shit.
It is. And so I'm going to move the goalposts a little bit already. So I'm going to start out before the season starts. So my dumbass was calling to fire David Pierce at the start of the season because we started 0-3 and then we made the College World Series, whatever. But so I'm moving the goalposts a little bit because I do worry about with all these transfers, how well they're gelling. If he's just trying to build some momentum with just get a bunch of talent, not caring how this talent fits. So it'll be on him as a coach to, make that talent right and make that talent work. But I don't think that's going to be a problem. I mean, he took Texas fucking Tech. We're talking about how irrelevant all these Big 12 schools. I don't know if there's one more irrelevant than Texas Tech. I mean, since they fired Mike Leach, Chris Beard brought them back to relevancy, and he did that just as a coach. And so now he gets to hey, just do what you did at Tech, but here's infinite amounts of more talent. Just do that. I cannot fathom, and I've been wrong a lot I've been wrong a lot on basically everything in my entire life. But I can't fathom how Chris Beard fails at Texas. I can't for the life of me. In terms of how like engaging my personality is, like I'll still watch that intro press conference. It makes me want to go and like put up threes. Like I'm going in my backyard and I'm like, I'm going to start jacking up threes. Like it's crazy. He's a rainmaker, and he's somebody that Texas has needed for a long time. It's energy. Even, bringing in Shaka's, he's the guy that, he has his nice little sayings and quips and stuff. But like Chris Beard, like, dude, if he told me to go run gas,
I wanted to run through. Like, I listened to his presser and was like, fuck, do I have any eligibility left?
Yeah.
Can I get into shape to play some basketball?
Yeah. Like, put me in, coach. Like, let me go to 3. I got this. Either way, I mean, the dude fucks. That's at the end of the day. Chris Beard fucks is all I'm going to say forever, because he is.
Better back it up. That's all I got to say.
That's true. He does have to back it up.
Better. I mean, he doesn't have to. Like I said, expectations first year with this level of talent, I think you make the Elite Eight. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a coach, you got to coach. And that's what with this level of talent, like Elite Eight is what you're looking at.
That's what he said in his intro presser that I still love. Is he said, "I know the expectations at the University of Texas, and I'm here to exceed those. I know what's expected here,
Monday nights,
and I'm not scared."
Let's see.
Yep.
It sounds great. I love the guy. Really hope that he can actually coach.
It has to.
I really hope that Sark can coach too.
Yep. Same. We're gonna find out. Hey, I gotta say, one of my favorite A&M posts. So obviously, if you're in the recruiting thread, Longhorn Frenzy, Texifornia, they're posting a ton of A&M banter about the Texas move. My favorite one was Sark's offense doesn't fit in the SEC. It's built for the Pac-12, even though Sark just won a national championship in the SEC with that playbook, with that exact playbook. That the level of delusion in those it literally is watching a descent into madness.
Poor Aggie.
Poor Aggie. Speaking of, what I still love is Billy Lucci's text or tweet when the Brent Zwerneman or whatever the hell, the guy that broke the story, he said, "This is accurate, funny on so many levels, considering the anti-SEC bluster from Texas and OU fans, and also not happening, barring 4 super conference Armageddon." Just totally wrong, which just proves they didn't know anything. They didn't know any of this. They didn't know any of it.
To be fair, Luigi has made all of his money scamming a bunch of fucking half-brained nitwit idiots who fuck sheep.
Yep. That's exactly how I would describe them. So Furking sheep.
Furking. Home is where the furk is.
Home is where the furk is. He's a master, man. He's the best. He's the best. Oh, it's so good. But so we have the barbecue coming up. Everybody be on the lookout for that. It should be a huge recruiting weekend, because I can't wait to see what this staff does with the knowledge of, hey, we're going to the SEC. That is going to be the full court press.
Oh yeah, all of recruiting, everything up to now, everybody's meltdowns, everything. Like, it doesn't even matter who fucking is committed to where.
Yeah.
If they had Texas in their top 3, I bet we see a lot of decommits in the next month. Especially if the first month of the season goes well for Sarkisian and the Longhorns. I think we see massive flips.
Undefeated going into the Red River. Holy shit. Hold on to your butts. It's going to get crazy. It is going to get absolutely wild. Like, they'll be turning away kids. Like you.
Yeah, meanwhile, Jalen Gilbo.
Yeah. Immediately begging to get back into the Texas class, by the way. So that was a mistake.
Yeah. Talk about timing. That guy must not know how to use computers.
Yeah, that was a problem. But either way, for the first time in a long time, I'm not stressed about Texas recruiting, because there's going to be a lot of fun happening, especially if we can back it up.
Plus, who gives a shit now? Transfer portal from the SEC? Fuck off.
Come on. We're open. We got the spots. Like, it's this couldn't have laid out any better. I'm not used to this many good things happening at once between baseball and basketball, and then now this with football and going to the SEC. This is unreal. I'm not used to this. It's my liver thanks the University of Texas during this time.
I think we have to wrap this up. The season finale.
Season finale.
With the final Fat Boy Minute of season 2.
Yep, it absolutely has to. So I do have to say one Aggie fact of the week from Mr. Kyle Umlang, 101 Aggie facts, that things every Longhorn should know, and I'm just going to create a new one. Fact number 102: Daddy's home. A&M, Daddy's home. We're back, bitch. But yeah, Fat Boy Minute. So yeah, insert the tubas. Doom, doom, doom.
All right, we are moving conferences. One of the best things that the SEC is known for, other than being good at football and cheating, is tailgate.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Grove. I'm excited to check that out. We'll have to get into that and things that we want to experience while we're on the road, because this is the coolest part is we're going to Athens, Georgia instead of Ames, Iowa now. We're going to the Grove instead of Lubbock. Like, that fact alone, like, even I hear Gainesville's not the greatest, but it's like you're going to Gainesville instead of Manhattan, Kansas. Like, that's our road trip. Like, destination traveling is going to be bigger than anything that anybody's ever experienced for Texas, easily.
Yeah, and it's not that, right, the closest home game isn't LSU, which was a big issue that I think for Texas A&M.
Yeah,
the closest road game they had was LSU. Now the closest road games are going to be A&M, OU, then LSU and Arkansas are kind of the next ones, and that's not that bad from a travel schedule.
Yep, nope, it's not going to be bad at all. I mean, even getting up to like Missouri and then the Bamas, Mississippi. Mississippi schools aren't that far away, especially if you're flying. But we're going to be in the RV, so that Surly's going to just buy, and we just got to get it branded, just like a mutt cut. Like, we can't even do it like most people would think. Like, yeah, you get an RV and you just paint it burnt orange. Like, you have to do the mutt cuts van, but Longhorns, like, have big old poking out wheels with the fucking horns on the side. Like, you have to have the horn that plays, Texas Fight or the Eyes of Texas or something. Like, yeah, there's ways to do this really good. Just a big old bullhorn, like, sticking out the side. Take up 6 lanes.
So let's talk a little bit as our last thing that we talk about. Chants.
Oh, we do have to bring up the chant. So originally, my thought was I was going to open the podcast and I was going to chant SEC, and there's nothing in the world that I want to do less. And there's nothing in the world that any there's nothing in the world any Texas fan should want less than to chant SEC. If you hear somebody chant, just punch them.
Or
you
going to jail
I
for
said
assault,
but yeah,
you should start a Texas Fight chant instead. Do not chant SEC 3 times.
Especially,
you can say SEC 1 time, and then you can start a Texas Fight chant.
Especially, I'm going to say, this coming up season at the Arkansas game and the OU game, all you little bitches are going to be thinking about doing it. And there's going to be people in the stands that do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't try it. Don't do it. Don't do the SEC chant. You'll be called an Aggie and maybe punched in the face by me, and then have Texas Fight yelled in your ear. You don't want to experience that. Just don't do the chant. We don't ask a lot. Don't do the chant. Don't tweet at Croots, and don't chant SEC.
Mm-hmm. And do make fun of Aggie every time that you see them.
Every single time.
Which is going to be very frequently now.
Because they are in pain. And that's the best thing, is when your rival's in pain. And this is so think about this. This is the highest of highs. This is the highest I have felt about Texas athletics, at least since the Sugar Bowl. This tops the Sugar Bowl for me. This is probably the highest I've felt probably since 4th and 5. Straight up. This is the lowest they've felt. So make sure you rub that in. Just stick that knife a little bit deeper, because they've earned it. By God damn it, they've earned it. They've earned that knife to be driven directly into their belly. Because this past 10 years, this is just a pure culmination of all of their Agginess. Is a pure culmination of all of their hopes, their dreams, their championship hopes. We got Jimbo, we got the recruits, we have everything behind us, and this is it just getting just absolute splatter shit all over their hopes and dreams. So make sure that if you are friends with an Aggie, make sure that they know that they're having a really fucking bad time. That's your job this entire week until we see you next week on the Surly Horn Podcast for season 3. Make sure you make an Aggies week fucking awful.
And with that, hook 'em.
Hook 'em. SEC.